This is the WHTC Morning News with Gary Stevens and Peg McNichol on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
Welcome back to the WHTC Morning News for this Tuesday, June 22nd. Tuesday mornings, we have a chance to catch up with what is going on in Washington with one of the two men who represent the Lakeshore in the halls of Congress, specifically the U.S. House. He is Republican Representative Fred Upton of St. Joseph. He joins us via the Zoom connection this morning. Fred, good morning and welcome back to Morning News.
Well, good morning. We needed the rain a couple of nights ago, and it's what a beautiful start to the week here.
It certainly is, and it was a nice big moonlight sunset around 4 this morning. Too bad I didn't get a photo of it in time. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in Washington. President Biden is going to meet with his White House official, going to be meeting on Capitol Hill, basically with the Senate about that $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure proposal. You and the problem solvers have been working on it for a while. On the House side, what is the latest in your mind about what is being discussed in Washington and what the problem solvers have in front of them?
Well, I think we're getting mighty close. You know, when the talks broke down between Senator Capito from West Virginia and the president, they were looking for an alternative. We, the problem solvers, have been working on such really since April, governors as well as senators and House members. We then last week unveiled a $1.2 trillion package. Yep, we got pay-fors for this as well. And that helped prompt 11 senators to, in essence, really look at our framework and give the green light. We had a meeting last week, Friday morning, with a number of us, problem solvers, and two senators, Republican and Democrat. We walked through just exactly where their proposal is. There's not a lot of difference between the two. It's really very, very encouraging. And I'm hoping as Congress comes back today, and I'm literally going to be leaving this now to go to the airport to catch my plane back, I'm hoping that we can get an agreement. Our roads and highways need real help. We know that here in Michigan because of the cyber attack on Colonial Pipeline a few weeks ago, but weather-related instances. We see these huge heat forecasts out west as well. Don't know whether our electric grid, our energy grid is sufficiently resilient to protect against attacks. That's going to be part of this, expanding broadband. All those things we think are important in terms of infrastructure needs, and I think we can get there. I'm encouraged that you will see some real movement. We got a lot of meetings coming up this week, and I'm hoping by the end of the week we're going to be even that much closer to coming up with a bipartisan agreement that can get through both the House and the Senate, and obviously the president sign into law.
One of your things that you are very passionate about was 21st Century Cures when it was passed a few years ago. Now it's 21st Century Cures 2.0, and there's some progress being made in that.
Well, again, this is, I think, very encouraging. You know, when we passed Cures, 21st Century Cures, it took us 3 years to get it done. It passed in the House 392 to 26. It was literally the last bill that President Obama signed into law, and it led the way to actually get an approved vaccine for COVID, among many other things that it did. Now we're looking at 2.0. We've been working, Diana DeGette, my partner, Democrat from Colorado. She and I have been working the last 2 years on an update on this. We're looking at better trials, making sure that, particularly on the demographic side, minorities are more represented than they have been before. Looking at better using the internet, making sure that there's better connectivity between the health providers and being reimbursed. And we're also working very closely with the Biden administration on what's called ARPA-H. This will be a new entity within the NIH that will look at really advancing cures for these rare diseases. And later this morning, we're going to be doing a conference call with Francis Collins, the head of the NIH, Diana DeGette, and myself. as the administration is unveiling its proposal, that even though we've talked about it, we're looking at including that as part of our 2.0, and we are looking to introduce that legislation later this week.
Now, one thing that we've discussed in the past, the situation involving the Palisades nuclear power plant in Covert. It is scheduled for decommission. It is Van Buren County's biggest employer. It's going to have a major economic impact, especially in Van Buren County. Apparently, Washington's going to help in terms of addressing that economic impact.
Well, this was really good news. The EDA, Economic Development Administration, announced last week, I was part of this, nearly $1 million for the community to deal with this shutdown. We all knew that it was coming. It was announced several years ago that Palisades was going to close down for a variety of reasons. But you're right, it's a major employer. It's a major tax revenue, the largest in the county, have an enormous impact on Van Buren County. And this $1 million is going to help. It's going to help not only, I think, with the employees that are looking for work, but begin to offset some of those losses, those economic losses that the county is surely to sustain. So it was welcome news, and we're delighted that the EDA recognized the need, and we're all pulling together to do whatever we can to make sure that the shutdown is less impactful than it might otherwise have been.
According to CBS News, President Biden is expected to lay out an anti-crime strategy this week, focusing on gun crimes, on part of an effort to stem the rise in homicides across the country. And according to CBS, at the beginning of what his administration and experts believe will be a tumultuous summer. Obviously, it's a little early to say what's going to be in the package, what's in the thing. But certainly dealing with crime, dealing with police is something that Congress is probably going to have to address between now and Labor Day.
Well, the problem solvers have been very engaged, working on legislation that I think will better equip our police and law enforcement, whether it be including a registry to make sure that officers, very rare, but when they violate rules or conduct, that there'll be a registry of that, providing more body cams. It's unfortunate, the news this morning, of course, of a man allegedly shot by a state trooper, but the state trooper didn't have a body cam. Our Michigan state cops really don't have them. I think all of our officers across the state need them, whether they be in a county, city, or certainly the state police. This legislation would provide for that, and to me, provide more accountability, but actually, provide a real history of exactly what happened. We need more resources. We don't need to defund the police, that's for sure. And so, legislation moving in that direction. And yes, I supported background checks prior to the purchase of a firearm. Law-abiding folks have no need to worry, but folks with a criminal record, we need to do all that we can to prevent them from owning and operating a firearm. That's a right that they lose once they commit a felony. So I think there's some room here for some common sense legislation. I'm anxious to see what the president proposes, and we'll see where it goes.
He is Congressman Fred Upton. He joins us Tuesday mornings to talk about some of the things going on in Washington. Fred, have a safe trip to D.C. today and a good week ahead. And if all goes well, let's do this again next Tuesday morning.
I look forward to it.
Thank you very much, Fred Upton on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.